Now, in Algeria, the president, Abdelaziz Bouteflika, has resigned with immediate effect after 20 years in power. This follows weeks of protests against his earlier decision to stand for a fifth term in office. Our diplomatic correspondent James Landale looks back on his presidency.
Abdelaziz Bouteflika was a central figure of Algerian politics for almost half a century. And for the last 2 decades, he was the country's president. For many Algerians, the only leader they had known. He was a veteran of the country's war of independence against France. And like many young fighters, he joined the new government, serving as the country's foreign minister, aged just 26. And for more than 10 years, in the 1960s and 70s, he championed non-aligned countries across Africa. But it was Algeria's bloody civil war in the 1990s that brought him to power. Hundreds of thousands of people died in the fighting with Islamist extremists. Bouteflika was elected president in 1999 with the support of the army, with the primary aim of negotiating an end to the conflict. When the fighting stopped, he brought some political and, for a time, economic stability to Algeria, outlasting many other world leaders, winning successive elections, in part by trying to establish some independence from the army.
L'armée sait que je ne suis pas un invertébré de la politique.
The army knows that I'm not a spineless politician. In fact, I have a very strong backbone. I'm not the kind of man to be manipulated in any way.
Bouteflika ruled with the support of a group of generals, businessmen and politicians, known as the pouvoir, or the power. And that worked while oil and gas revenues were high. But over the years, Algeria's economy declined, with many people accusing the government of corruption and mismanagement, with millions left unemployed. 6 years ago, the president suffered a stroke and can now hardly walk or talk, an ailing figurehead for the country's increasingly divided elite. Algeria's young population began to lose patience with a regime that they felt was unable to reform. So when Bouteflika announced that he would seek a fifth term, they took to the streets to say enough was enough. President Bouteflika's resignation marks the end of an era for Algeria. The question now is whether it will pave the way to the political and economic change that the people seem to want. James Landale, BBC News.